He held it with both hands. Not the casual, one-handed grip of someone receiving a piece of equipment. Not the performative gesture of a photo opportunity staged for cameras that everyone in the room understands is a photo opportunity. Both hands. Carefully. The way you hold something when you understand that what you are holding is not just a jersey but everything the jersey represents, the weight of an expectation, the reality of an opportunity, the beginning of something that both the person giving and the person receiving understand will matter long after this room empties and the cameras leave and the formal machinery of an introductory press conference dissolves back into the ordinary business of a baseball season. Shohei Ohtani handed Ben Rortvedt the jersey. Number 47. And then he said something that made the room go quiet in a way that press conference rooms almost never go quiet, not with the silence of people waiting for the next thing to happen, but with the silence of people who understand that the thing they just witnessed was the thing. That nothing coming after it would be more important than what just occurred. What he said. How he said it. And what Rortvedt said in return, the announcement that landed at the end of his own remarks like a period at the end of a sentence that had been building for the entire afternoon. He said he would bat in Ohtani's next start. To understand why that sentence matters, why a catcher announcing his intention to bat in a pitcher's next start carries weight that extends far beyond the practical reality of a lineup card, you need to understand what this moment represented in the longer story of everything that had preceded it. The catching instability. The failed partnerships. The disrespect and the departures and the organizational disruptions that had accumulated over the course of a season like weather systems building towards something that hadn't broken yet. The catchers who couldn't receive what Ohtani threw. The ones who wouldn't. The one who yelled. The one who refused. The parade of professional relationships that had each, in their own way, fallen short of the specific and demanding standard that catching Shohei Ohtani at full intent requires. Rodvet arrived at the end of all of that. Not as a compromise. Not as the organization's latest attempt to paper over a structural problem with a personnel solution that would eventually reveal the same fault lines as the ones that preceded it. As an answer. That distinction, between a compromise and an answer, was visible in everything about the way this press conference was structured. In the fact that Ohtani was present at all, which is not standard for catching acquisitions, which is not something the Dodgers had done with any of the previous catchers whose arrivals had been announced with organizational statements and brief introductory availabilities and none of the ceremony that this afternoon carried. He was here because he had asked to be here. Because he had something to give. Because number 47 was not a random assignment. The number has history. Not in the official, retired banner sense of numbers that belong to the permanent record of a franchise. In the quieter, more personal sense of numbers that carry meaning for the person wearing them, that connect a player to something in their own story that they carry forward into each new context the career takes them. Rortvedt had worn 47 in his previous organization. Had requested it as his first choice in every clubhouse he had occupied, had built his professional identity around a number that, to the outside world, was arbitrary and unremarkable, but that to him represented the specific chapter of his career where he had understood, for the first time with full clarity, what he was capable of. Ohtani knew this. The depth of the research that had preceded this acquisition, the thoroughness with which the Dodgers front office and, separately and independently, Ohtani himself had evaluated Rortvedt as a candidate for this role, was visible in the detail that the jersey number represented. Nobody hands someone their preferred number at an introductory press conference without knowing that it is their preferred number. Without caring enough to find out. That care was the message. Before a word had been spoken. Before a pitch had been thrown or a sign had been called or a single game had been played between them, the jersey with number 47 said everything that introductory remarks and organizational statements and 3-year contract announcements could not say as directly. It said, "We see you. We know you. We did the work to understand who you are before we asked you to be here." Rortvedt received it with both hands. His expression in that moment was the expression of someone processing several things simultaneously: the professional significance of the occasion, the personal weight of the specific number, and the specific reality of who was handing it to him. He had been in professional baseball long enough to have developed the emotional management skills that the career requires. The ability to receive significant moments without being visibly overwhelmed by them. The composure that separates professionals from everyone else in high-pressure situations. But the composure had edges in that moment. Not breaking. Not dissolving into anything that would have embarrassed him or undermined the professional gravity he brought to the room. But present at the surface in a way that was completely human and completely legible to anyone watching carefully. He held the jersey. He looked at the number. He looked at Ohtani. And he said, quietly enough that the microphones almost missed it. "Thank you. I'll take care of it." Ohtani's words came next. He had prepared them. That was visible, not in the sense of something scripted and recited, but in the sense of something thought through carefully and arrived at with the same deliberate precision that he brings to every meaningful act. He spoke through his interpreter in the way he always speaks through his interpreter in significant public moments, with a quality of patience that allows the translation to carry the full weight of what he intends rather than rushing past it toward the next sentence. He said, "I have been waiting for someone I could trust completely on the mound. Not someone I could work with. Not someone I could adjust to or manage around. Someone I could trust. Without reservation. Without the portion of my attention that goes to doubt when the trust isn't there." He paused. Let the interpreter carry it. Then said, "Ben is that person. I know this not from one conversation or one film session or one bullpen session. I know it from the way he thinks about the game. The way he thinks about the pitcher he is catching. The way he has described, to me, in the time we have spent together already, what he believes his job is when he gets behind that plate." Another pause. He said, "His job, as he described it, is to make me forget he is there. To create the condition where I am so certain of what is behind me that I can give everything I have to what is in front of me. To be so present and so prepared that his presence becomes invisible in the best possible sense." He looked at Rodvet directly. He said, "Nobody has ever described it to me that way before. And when he said it, I understood immediately that this is what I have been missing. Not a better catcher. A catcher who understood the job differently." The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Ohtani said one final thing. He said, "I am grateful he is here. Genuinely grateful. In baseball, you spend a long time looking for the people who make you better simply by being present. Ben is one of those people. I knew it before today. Today just made it official." Rortvedt spoke after. He had the quality that certain catchers develop over the course of careers spent entirely in service of other people's success, a groundedness, a lack of ego about the specific nature of the role, a comfort with being the person behind rather than in front that reads as strength rather than self-effacement. He thanked the organization. He thanked Roberts, who was present and whose expression throughout the ceremony had the quality of a man watching something he had worked toward arrive exactly as he had hoped it would. He acknowledged the 3-year commitment and spoke briefly about what it meant to have that security and that trust extended. And then he said the thing about the batting. He said it almost as an aside. Not as a formal announcement. Not as a prepared statement. As something that emerged naturally from the larger thing he was describing, his vision of what he was here to do and how he intended to do it. He said, "I've been studying Shohei's next start the way I study every start for every pitcher I catch, completely, at every level of the matchup. The opposing lineup. The count tendencies. The pitch sequencing patterns that the hitters they'll face have demonstrated against similar arsenals." He paused. Then said, "And I want to be in that game. Not just behind the plate. In it. Batting. Contributing offensively in a way that tells the team and tells Shohei that the person catching him is fully invested in every dimension of what winning that game requires." A reporter said, "You're saying you plan to bat in his next start?" Rortvedt said, "I'm saying I will bat in his next start. That's not a plan. That's a commitment." The room absorbed that. Another reporter asked, "Does Ohtani know you feel this way?" Rortvet looked at Ohtani across the small distance of the press conference table. He said, "He does now." Ohtani was already nodding. Robert spoke last. He had been present throughout the ceremony with the quality of a man who understood that his role in this particular moment was to witness rather than to lead, that what was happening between Ohtani and Rortvet was something that belonged to them, and that his most useful contribution was the organizational context that had made it possible. He said, "What you saw today is what we were building toward. Not with this transaction specifically, we didn't know it would look exactly like this. But the direction we were building toward. The quality of relationship we wanted behind that plate and the quality of commitment we wanted from the person occupying it." He looked at both of them. Then said, "Ben said he wants to bat in Shohei's next start. I want to add something to that. He doesn't just want to bat. He has been preparing to bat. He has been studying the opposing pitching staff with the same completeness that he has been studying the opposing lineup as a catcher. He came into this organization ready to contribute in every way available to him." He paused. He said, "That is the standard we hold ourselves to here." And Ben walked in already meeting it. The press conference ended with a photograph. Standard. Expected. The kind that appears in organizational social media accounts within minutes and gets shared across the platforms where baseball fans follow their teams and file away the images that accumulate into something like a season's memory. Ohtani and Rortvet. Side by side. The jersey with number 47 visible in Rortvet's hands. But the photograph that traveled furthest, the one that ended up in places the organizational social media team hadn't posted it, shared by people who had no particular connection to the Dodgers but who recognized in it something worth passing on, was not the formal one. It was a frame captured by a photographer positioned at the edge of the room. A moment between the formal photograph and the dispersal of the assembled media. A moment that nobody had staged and nobody had anticipated. Ohtani had said something to Rodvet. Quietly. Just between them. And whatever it was, the words themselves belonging to that private space between two people at the beginning of something, had produced an expression on Rortvet's face that the photograph captured with the clarity of something true. Not excitement. Not the performed enthusiasm of a player in a high-visibility moment. Something quieter. More settled. The expression of someone who had just been told, by the person whose trust matters most in the environment he was entering, that the trust was already there. That it had been there from the beginning. That the jersey with number 47 wasn't just a welcome. It was a statement of faith. And Rortvet, holding it with both hands, understood exactly what he had been given. And what he had promised, in return, to carry.